Welcome back to the next video in a series on which vehicle is best to live in for full timing. Today we're going to look at pickup trucks, and I'm going to consider both trucks with a shell on them, or a topper, or a cap, whatever you choose to call it. The people call them different things in different parts of the country, and also a camper. Whether that's a pre-built one that you buy to slide in, or whether you build your own camper. The good things about trucks that most people think of immediately is the off-road capabilities. You get some ground clearance and four-wheel drive in many trucks, and that'll get you down forest roads or BLM roads that you're just not going to get down in a car or even some vans, and definitely not in some RVs. So that's a good thing about trucks, is the off-road capability. Reliability can be a good factor with trucks. In the smaller trucks like Toyota are just well known for lasting forever and being reliable. Some of the full-size American trucks are really solid with a good reputation. So you can get a good solid vehicle that'll last for a good long time and take you places you want to go. As far as comfort, if you got a shell on it, or a cap, you can pretty easily make a decent bed. But you're going to be limited in space. But you can make a decent bed. You at least usually have a 6-foot bed in a pickup, sometimes 8. So you can make a bed easily enough that runs lengthwise, so you can get a good night's sleep. And in a camper, you can basically have all the comforts at home, just a little smaller. You can get the height to stand up, walk around, space, a little bit of storage. Stove, refrigerator, even bathrooms in some of them. So those are you can get all the comfort you want pretty much. As far as the bad with trucks, most of the time we deal with trucks, you're going to be not getting the best fuel efficiency, at least compared to some other vehicles, and that's especially true as you move into larger trucks. There are some exceptions to that. There are some that get surprisingly good mileage, but as a general rule, gas mileage is not going to be that great, so something to think about if you're on a budget or you want to do a lot of driving, go to a lot of different places. Security can be a concern for a lot of people with a truck, whether you have the shell or a camper. It's depending on your configuration, it's going to be somewhere between impossible and really difficult to get into the driver's seat from the back in a emergency or threatening situation without exiting the vehicle and coming all the way around to get in the driver's seat. If you've got a sliding window on your truck, and if you've got a sliding window on your camper or shell on the back, you can technically dive through. I did that I have done that years ago when I was much younger. Whether I want to try it now, I mean, I guess maybe, you'd have to ask yourself honestly, if that's something you're concerned about, have to ask yourself honestly if you really could get through that space in the window, if you even have it, if you can get through there in an emergency and be able to drive away. One of the big things you hear about with vehicle dwelling is, hey, if you don't like the neighbors, if something happens, you can just drive away. As long as you don't have, windshield covers and stuff strapped to your vehicle and stuff, that's true if you can actually get to the driver's seat. But if you're in the back, you got to go out and around. So now I'm not trying to scare anybody off. I've been doing this for a long time. I just have never had a problem. There's been once for definite I can think of, maybe twice off the top of my head, when I had somebody who was camped nearby made me uncomfortable, and I left. And one time I had a trailer. It took like half an hour to break camp and leave. We didn't wait till the problem developed. We just weren't happy with the neighbors. Felt like they were kind of questionable, and we decided to move on. But it's a nice option to have, so if that is something that concerns you, that's something to think about, whether you can get through to the front. Cost can be a concern with trucks. They're generally going to be more expensive than vans. Not uncommon to see pickup trucks of a similar age and mileage that are as much as twice the cost of a van, similar van. So I mean that's a factor if you're on a tight budget. Smaller trucks like Toyotas really hold their value, so you may end up spending more up front. If you can do that, that's great. It's not a problem because the vehicle holds its value well. But if you're on a tight budget looking to get started, a truck's going to be more expensive usually than some other options. And if you can go with two-wheel drive, that'll help. That'll drive the price down a lot. But especially if four-wheel drive is going to cost more. Space, you may have more room than in a car, but you're going to be pretty limited on space. If you got the shell in the back, you're going to have very limited storage in there, besides the bed. If you've got a traditional slide-in camper, you may have a fair bit of storage, but it'll be limited by the design of the thing. And if you got the pop-top campers that are starting to get popular now, there's very little storage in those usually. So you're going to be storing stuff in the truck or in very little space there. So something to think about that way too. You almost end up having to be a minimalist again, unless you're going with a full sliding camper that's got more storage. As far as the comfort level, the big thing with just a shell on a truck is going to be the low height. You're got probably less height than even in a minivan most of the time, so you're not going to be standing up. It's going to be low. So that's a question of whether that's something that'll work for you. And then the other consideration, if you're looking at a camper, sliding camper, is that they're very bulky and very heavy. And even with a 3/4 ton or a 1-ton truck, you're going to put a lot of strain on the vehicle. So you're going to pay for it in maintenance, and you're going to deal with the wind and the sway and you also get the height and width that you're going to find it challenging. Not so much in the desert, but especially when you start getting up into the forest and stuff. A lot of the roads, you'll find the trees are low overhead, or they're closed in pretty narrow, and you're going to have a hard time getting to some places that way. So something to be aware of, depending on where you plan on taking it, that the size may actually be a challenge, but the weight is a problem, and a lot of people eventually either try and find lighter weight versions or just move away from the campers altogether because of the weight of the things. They're so heavy. As far as recommendations beyond that, full-size trucks, you can take more weight, they might have more power, you may be able to pull something if you want. You're generally going to get worse gas mileage on a small one. A smaller import like a Toyota, you get better gas mileage out of it. They're really reliable. They're good vehicles, but you're just not going to be able to put the weight on it, and you're not going to have as much space in the bed. So you kind of have to evaluate there whether how much space you need. Can you get by with a small truck like a Toyota Tacoma or a Ford Ranger or something, or do you need the space or want the space of the bigger one? And if so, are you willing to pay the gas mileage premium to do that? Other than that, that's basically the thing with trucks. They're a good option if you want the 4-wheel drive and the ground clearance, and you don't need a ton of space, and you don't mind having to go back and forth around them to get in and out. It can be a good option. And you also have the option of, like I say, go with a simple shell thing, and you can insulate or build it however you want. You can go with a full-blown slide-in camper, or you can build your own camper shell on it and make it whatever size you want, pretty much. So you do have some options there. It does allow you to get the 4-wheel drive and go places. Could also be a consideration if you spend part of the year in places that has snow and ice. It might be nice to have the 4-wheel drive. So trucks can be a good option. It pretty much locks you to being a minimalist or close to a minimalist. But that's about it for trucks. I hope this gave you some things to think about, and you found it helpful. And our next video in this series we'll look at minivans, which is what I'm actually in right now currently, and so we'll be see what some of the benefits and the downsides of living in a minivan in the next video. So until next time, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.